All right, everyone, thank you for coming here. We'll get started. Sorry we're a few minutes late. Obviously, we've got a few things going on here. It's a newfangled thing for us. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Right off the bat, I lost a $1 bet. I didn't think so many people would come, so I was wrong, and I'm happy to be wrong. Thank you all for showing up. So let's get started. We have a call to order. Here we are. We are in order. Committee update by me. A few things. I hope everyone will follow us on social media. We're on Twitter and Instagram at Studio City PS as the Public Safety Committee. So if you want specific things to the Public Safety Committee, again, please Twitter, Instagram, Studio City PS. Facebook at facebook.com/groups/Studio City PS. For us, Patrice is no longer going to be a voting member of our committee. She's up in Carmel. She's got her home up there. We thank her for everything she's done and will continue to do with this committee. We look forward to working with her again in the future because she will be back, just not a voting member right now. We definitely wish her well. Here's a fun thing. If people don't know about CEAS with LAPD, which is under CPAB, CEAS is a civilian patrol. Anyone who wants to can sign up. You just got to do a simple little test driving a BMW. You have to get a live scan over at Van Nuys. Otherwise, you're put on the street working with LAPD, like Officer Sean Smith over here, but with Officer Antonoli.
They are somewhat vetted.
We are somewhat vetted with live scan, and we do have a history check. No, definitely no criminals, and they do call up. Trust me. Rachel and Randy. Randy, have you gone through it?
No, I gotta go to Van Nuys.
Okay, good. I'm gonna make you feel badly right now, because Rachel did.
I got fingerprinted.
Rachel got fingerprinted as the newest member of CEAS, and we do civilian patrol in this area, usually for about 4 hours. So Officer Antonioli is a person, I know, it's that I keep forgetting that I. I'm Italian myself. Antonoli, there's a silent I in there, go figure. Civilian patrol under CPAB, which Patty is part of. Crime stats for basic car 1585 area, which runs Ventura Boulevard, went from 22 Part 1 crimes, which are robbery, aggravated assault, burglary, larceny, motor vehicle theft, etc., and it runs Ventura Boulevard, went from 22 Part 1 crimes to 11 from September 22nd to the 28th, so that was cut in half. Antonoli does say that obviously several things, including the officers themselves, he does feel that CEAS played a good part in that since we've been hitting that area often. So it's a good thing to be a part of if you guys want to. We are helping out LAPD in the meantime. If you want more information, you can go to our Facebook page, our Twitter, our Instagram. We have it all there. That's about it. If anyone wants to get in contact with me, my email address is mpiscatelli@studiocitync.org. That's M, P as in Peter, I, S as in Sam, C as in cat, I, T as in Tom, ELLI @studiocitync.org. I'll give it to you again later on down the road, but that's where we're at. I just want to move quickly to this so we can get to the LAMC Municipal Code. Our first thing up after this, updates by Rachel, our Vice Chair.
Actually, not too much to report right now. I'm still waiting to get confirmation that I'm still the resilience liaison for Studio City. So until I get that confirmation from the president, I can't move forward with any anything more. But I just want to remind everybody that there is a Valley Disaster Preparedness Fair this Saturday. It's going to be at the Northridge Fashion Center between 9 a.m. and 1:30 p.m. It is absolutely free. If you want more information, you can go to www.valleydisasterfair.com. It's a good way to get more information, how to protect yourself and your family, and that sort of thing. So.
Nice, thank you. Let's see. Comments from committee members on subject matter within the committee's jurisdiction. Anyone here? Anything within our jurisdiction? Or do we move along quickly? Thank you very much. Let's see. Before we get to CPAB, public comments on non-agenda items. This would be, who is it? Scott.
Yes.
You have a non-agenda item, my friend.
Really? I get to go first?
Leaf blowers, my friend. Bring it on.
Do I go to the mic or do I just talk here with my booming voice?
Peter, can everything pick up?
The mic would be lovely.
There you go. Ask an audio man.
Hi everybody, Scott Mandel. I'm on Van Ward, just the other side of Coldwater. Anyway, my non-agenda item are gas-powered leaf blowers. Most of you here have garden services, mow and blows, and each visit in 20 minutes, 2,000 miles of truck pollution you've driven from Texas to Alaska to have your driveway blown. It's 100,000 miles a year, 1,000,000 miles adds up pretty quick. Gas-powered blowers have been banned in LA since the 90s. It's not enforced. Why? I don't know. Why do we need to have this law? I don't know. We've all been near a gas-powered leaf blower. You cannot breathe. You can't hear, you can't see, you can't do anything. You can walk down Ventura Boulevard in traffic and breathe. You can't stand near one of these devices. So my plea is, please talk to your gardeners, buy them an electric blower. They're cheap. Give them an extension cord. Give it a shot. 2,000 miles a visit of truck pollution gone. Gardening gear is now #1 in California for ozone. Anyone want any more information, hit me up after the meeting, and I won't take any more of your time. Thanks.
Scott, with that, I plug in my car at the Studio City Library and I walk back to my apartment every morning, well, most mornings. I noticed that too, and I was wondering, and I looked that up, and yeah, it's on the law, and it's not something that's enforced, but a lot of people can be tagged in these houses here. Go for it.
Well, I think it goes beyond just the pollution. Those things blow crap all over our cars parked in the street.
Sure.
And then you walk your dog by it, and this guy's blowing this stuff all over you. You know, the dirt and everything else, it's absurd. But they're never gonna enforce it, you know?
Maybe.
It's not gonna happen.
As well as the noise as well. The noise pollution was the first thing that caught my ears when I'm walking at 7:30 in the morning, and I hear that all over the place.
Yeah, I noticed that our city contractors also use them. Has that been verified that they do no longer use that? I don't know if Jessica can maybe verify that. But we might want to start with our city.
Yeah, this gentleman, he actually spoke with Councilmember in person. Councilmember came up with an idea of an ordinance that would be like a rebate system where if you're willing to, we would basically refund you the difference if you purchase an electric one.
Yeah, no, that's a great idea, but I'm talking about actually city
That I can
employees.
tell you. I
Yeah,
would recommend
I've seen them
contacting the
on the
mayor.
schoolyards, they use gas powered. And in the parks, parks and rec?
Yes,
Yeah.
recreation.
Yeah, do you know if they don't, if their arsenal includes gas powered? Okay, I might want to check on.
Why should we use city money to buy a private business equipment? I mean, just enforce the law
Yeah,
like you would any other business. You don't go to a restaurant and say, well, we're gonna help buy this stuff for you so you can be compliant with the law.
Okay, noted. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Everybody seems resigned to the fact that the city will never enforce those laws. Why? If we get a parking ticket, they ticket very aggressively. We've all got parking tickets. They make millions of dollars off that, and I think often they fund the city's business through parking tickets. Think of the money they could make if they just enforce that.
Maybe they don't want to piss
Thank
off the gardeners.
I've never been to one of these meetings. How many of you work for the city in some capacity?
We have Studio City board members here. Randy is our vice president. Alex has been on for a while.
non-paid.
Do any of you work for the city of Los Angeles?
She does.
So does,
So that's why this is a good thing right now. Oh, it's nothing we can hit right now, just so you know, obviously, but it's good ideas and it's good things to hear for, obviously, for Krekorian's office.
I vent and rave about this every chance I get.
Perfect.
And the state offers very huge incentives for electric cars. They ban straws and plastic bags and now vaping, and if they put their hearts and minds and souls into something, they can get it done. What infuriates me the most is you can still buy these in Los Angeles, city, county, and the state. And there are no other devices that anyone can own legally and operate that pollute like that.
Yeah.
Drive a Hummer and switch to an electric blower, and you're better for the environment than vice versa. It just boggles my mind that we even need a law in a progressive city, county, and state, so people cannot be gross polluters. There's nothing else you do in your everyday life that comes close to what a gas-powered blower. And then if you add gas mowers and gas string trimmers,
Oh, yeah.
and there's a crisis, right? They tell us.
Yeah.
I don't believe it.
Here's something that we can start on this level right here, which is the neighborhood level. So to answer your question specifically, we can start here. We can reach out. We can find a way to hopefully make this maybe enforceable, at some point. Maybe it's in an area to do this, and the word will spread. we'll figure out something.
Can I
But
make
I-
one last
Alex, of course,
I was just gonna say, excuse me.
fight it out.
One last point on my
Go ahead.
big mouth.
Go ahead.
The city of Los Angeles on a macro level only enforces laws and collects fees where they can make money. Gardeners and people like that, it's very hard to chase down that type of revenue. Therefore, no enforcement arm is established by the city. That's just the reality of it. You can kind of go, no, that's not true. The city doesn't have an enforcement arm unless there's money to be made, or of course it's a terrible crime. But in general, normal light things that happen, they would probably want you to just deal with your insurance company and deal with personal and property issues. That's how it's been shifted in the last maybe 5-6 years. I've lived here for 40 years. So if anybody wants to tell me about a trajectory of how it's not like the way, you come and talk to me. I've seen the way the city is basically absconded of their responsibilities of maintaining our city and maintaining laws and enforcement. So that's my 25 cents.
So I was going to, what I was going to add to the conversation is rebranding what this problem is. I don't call them leaf blowers. I call it a dirt blower. And our mayor was just posed in a picture with other leaders about being an A1 leader in climate change and protecting the environment. And I think this should be smacked into his agenda of what's he doing in his front yard. It's a very important point.
It is.
Glad you brought this up, Scott. Thank you very much. I think we can all move forward unless anyone wants to say anything else
Well,
about this. We can, yeah.
But you know, I don't really follow next door, but the neighborhood watches are very effective and very active, and the neighborhood councils are very effective and very active, but particularly the neighborhood watches. If you could stimulate or activate a portion of that for those communities, they're micro communities, to be as vigilant to reporting these abuses, to get more attention to it. Maybe we can build awareness and enforcement.
So we can look into this more. I think that would be it. Looking into it more and spreading out information and seeing what can be done. Thank you for bringing that up, Scott. It's 9 to, that's the same thing. All right. With that, we're going to have CPAB, Captain Takeaways with Patty Kirby.
Okay, well, once again, it's about pedestrian safety. People are jaywalking. People are getting almost hit by cars. Some are getting hit by cars, and Sean can give us some more details. I don't know if you're going to talk today, but Captain wants us to be very aware. I didn't bring the flyers today, but I will bring them the next meeting. And then the other thing is continually people are leaving their key fobs in their cars, and their cars are getting stolen. Doesn't make sense, does it? So people that live in apartments that are tandem parking leave the key fob in the front one or the back one, and then their cars get stolen. So those are the two. Still, we're drumming it every meeting just about those two issues for this particular time. Did you have anything else, Sean, that you might?
Well, Studio City leads the divisions, so there's 8 areas. Studio City is one of the largest ones. We lead the division in people leaving their keys or key fobs in their cars, so it's not something good to lead at. It's the first time in a long time Grand Theft Auto has even been a big thing in Studio City. It usually goes in the different areas. Basically, if you have a car that has a key fob, or basically 2015 on, it's unstealable unless you leave a key in there or somebody has a tow truck. So when people tell us, and that's just the people that tell us the truth, they said, you can't make them show us both of their key fobs or their keys. We're not allowed to do that. So people say, no, I have both my keys. Officers can't say, let me see them then. So that's just the ones that are telling us the truth, what's going on about it. So it's probably way higher than that, but like basically it's about 6 to 7 out of 10 of their cars stolen in Studio City have their keys left inside of it. And those cars are not.
Why would they leave their key fob?
It's mostly for tandem parking, like Patty is saying. So like you have, condos or apartments where you park back to back, and it's just very convenient to leave to keep the other car in that glove compartment, so you can move that one fold in and not fold in. And I understand the convenience of it, but it's very inconvenient to the pedestrian that almost was killed by that stolen car that's falling down the street. And I think people really need to look at that. And stolen cars. It's one of those things where people that steal the cars usually are doing other crimes to the cars and taking off. If you have a nice classic car, your car is usually in a cargo container going to a different country, or that's what happens to classic cars. The high-end cars, they're parting them out later on or just doing crimes. So all the crimes around here, when people are breaking into houses and stuff and there's a vehicle involved, most of the time it's stolen and because it fits into the neighborhood. So, and that's when they take off from us, they take off with a nice heavy BMW, and the BMWs can outmaneuver our cars. They just can't drive them as good as our drivers are. And, you know, you've seen on TV how close they come to killing people. So, you know, please remember to remove the vehicle fobs from that, please. That's it.
Okay, one more thing is the captain has asked if the community has questions for him to maybe write it down, and I should have brought my comment cards, but if you have a question in particular that you would like answered by the captain or the senior leads officer, we have our meeting next Thursday, which is on Facebook Live, and we around all of North Hollywood present the captain with our questions from the community. So he wants to give the answers out to the community, and you can tune in to Facebook Live, the North Hollywood Station Facebook page. So write it down, give it to me, and I'll present it to the captain. Thank you.
If anyone doesn't know, this is Patty Kirby, CPAB, the Community Police Advisory Board, direct connection between community and police. Sean Smith, if you don't know, is our senior lead officer around here in Studio City. He is the man. So, yeah, you are, but you're shaking it like this.
Oh, man.
Okay. Fred, what did you need?
Well, I just want to make a comment, especially with Sean here, that about 3 weeks ago, I was walking my dog on Wilkinson near Woodbridge, Valley Heart, and on a Saturday, and across the street, halfway across the street, a woman runs the stop sign heading south on Wilkinson and makes her left turn and like gonna kill us. The last nanosecond, I saw her face. She swerved and just missed us like that. So she heads down the street for a block, then she turned around and came back. I'm so sorry. I said 5 years felony manslaughter. I don't know if that's exactly correct. You have to live with that the rest of your life. And that's not the first time this has happened to me, and it's happening all over the place. What the hell is going on about, there's no traffic cops around.
Yeah, we have not.
I see people running stop signs all the time at full speed or faster, and red lights. It's like lawless as Dodge City in 1880, and Marshall Dillon hasn't arrived yet. So is there anything that the committee here can do in our little community here to get something done about traffic enforcement, even about stop signs and red light?
Traffic and safety. Yeah, let's see what we can do. And my first thing would be to reach out to LAPD through you, but you know, there are some times where they do come up with people walking in the crosswalks to pull people over. Let's say, when cars drive by without stopping at stop signs. So maybe we can. Okay, it's on the radar. That's all I can say right now, Fred.
I've been here tonight. Where's my dog, man?
Yeah.
I'll present it at the CPAB meeting next week.
Huh?
Yeah.
I'll ask at the CPAB meeting next week.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll see what we can do about this. Is why we have these comments right now, to see anything from the public that you guys want to bring up, then maybe we can jump in on. So we will, Fred. We'll see what we can do, Fred. Do you want to talk about this?
I had seen black and white on Laurel Terrace at the Route 4-way, and they would ticket people that rolled through the doors. It does happen, maybe not as much as it does. I think an effective deterrent is only as good as often as the police enforce, but they do it.
By the way, if the LAPD hired people to be trained to do traffic violations and bump those tickets up, that should be like a $500 fine. They would make a fortune off of that, and pay for salaries plus.
Yes.
They could make a fortune on Woodbridge between Coldwater and Woodbridge.
Yes.
Oh, I know.
That includes my husband.
If anyone's come in late and needs a comment card, come get one in this corner.
To Rachel's point, if anyone wants to speak, there's comment cards up here. If you came in late and you want to, feel free, come on up. Fred, thank you. And leaf blowers, thank you for enforcing the driving as well. We'll see what we can do. We have to talk, obviously, on the neighborhood council level.
Strong committee, appreciate it.
Thank you, thank you. So that was Fred, and there was no one else with other public comments, unless anyone's...
There's one gentleman, but I don't know if he's, did you want a public comment or a specific issue?
Just a homeless issue.
Oh, okay.
All right, still fill it out, please. And if it's the homeless, we will get to that right now. No other comments. We still only have 2 comment cards up here so far, so turn them in, please, and we'll get to it. So, all right, moving on to, thank you, Patty. Thank you, Sean. Moving on to, let's move through this quickly. Presentation, discussion, and vote regarding the following. The SCNC Public Safety Committee requests $90 for application fees to LA Unified School District for use of Walter Reed Middle School to hold future meetings. This is an option for us, but to get more people involved as you are now, we hear that CBS can be a pain in the butt. We don't want to have a pain in the butt for people. I know we had the gang unit here last time. One of the officers had a mark on him, so we had to go through security through CBS. So hopefully at some points where we have this at CBS, you'll understand. Now maybe we can have it here often or also at Walter Reed. So we do need a $90 permit fee just to apply. This also is not just for us, but for the board as well. So this is going to be a big general type of application for everyone. We just happen to be on it. So with that said, are there any comments first and foremost? Anyone want to speak?
I agree. I think that the CPS parking situation is an obstacle for people to come.
Yeah.
All right. All right, so I'll read it one more time and we'll take a vote. Studio City Neighborhood Council Public Safety Committee requests $90 for application fees to LA Unified School District for use of Walter Reed Middle School to hold future meetings. Rachel, Tobias.
Yes.
Randy.
Yes.
Alex.
Yes.
Marcia.
Yes.
Patty.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Motion passes. The next board meeting will ask for the $90. Thank you very much.
Actually, a point of order, I think that you have to, with this committee passing the motion, technically you have to submit it to Patrick, to the budget committee. The budget committee then has to, officially is the one, because there are not actual budgets for every committee.
Yeah.
It has to, so we pass it, it goes to budget, budget then brings it to the board.
With the wonderful thing that Brian's been doing is that since it's only on a need basis, which is what the budget committee is, he has been getting a second on that, so he's been bringing it straight to the board, which we've done for a number of things. So we'll do that for this one as well, and we can just get the ball rolling.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you for bringing that up. All right, so number 9, presentation and discussion regarding the following. We have Councilmember Krekorian's office. Jessica Fugate is here. I always want to say Fugate. I don't know why. Sorry about that. But the LA Municipal Code 4118, in the most general way, talks about the crisis we have with the homeless, where they can be, what is legal, what is not legal, in that most general respect. That's what it's about. So a change is taking place, and we just wanted to inform the community and get community feedback specifically on this, LAMC 4118, not on homelessness as a whole. So I do want to focus this on this and have a conversation. Krekorian's office is open to, as far as I understand, you can speak to it, listening to ideas to solidify this, to help it out, and to make sure it passes. As the safety committee, we believe in compassion for the homeless, but safety for the citizens as well. There has to be a middle area where we all come together. I haven't met a single person who wants to throw people out if they're homeless. What I do know, though, is that there are some issues of safety for us all, and I think we all need to jump in the middle, not be polarized, but jump in the middle. And this is a first start to get that ball rolling as well. It's a wonderful opportunity for us all to get our voices heard, to help shape a law that our council member here in this community is going to be hopefully moving forward with. We'll find out more from Jessica herself, but it's a wonderful opportunity. And we have only 3 people so far on comment cards, so if anyone wants to turn it in, you're more than welcome to now. Sean, if you would like to speak to this as well at any point, please feel free. With that said, I can kind of move to the side, but Jessica, if you want to come on up here and go through what it is that we're talking about with the municipal code. Move to the side. Yeah, it's because of that. We'll be able to share. It's next to Pat.
It's off. It has a password.
It's next because
Good evening, everyone. Thanks so much for taking the time to come out tonight. My name is Jessica Fugate. If you do not know me, I am the council member's field deputy for Studio City and Valley Village. I wanted to call you here tonight for something that is very important to our city and very, very important to our constituents. It is an issue that has basically sucked up about 80% of my entire job. It's an issue that I worked for the city for 3.5 years, and it's basically the worst it's ever been in terms of the feedback that we're getting from the community. So tonight, as Michael had said, thank you so much for hosting me, Mike and the board. I want to touch base with everyone on LAMC 4118, but first I want to kind of give a background to everyone. Does everyone have this pamphlet that I handed out? And Julie did? Okay, great. So I will, at any point in time, probably, if you don't have anything with you to take notes, you'll probably have a lot of questions after this, so I will give you guys my card if you have any questions, because I'm going to be filling your heads with a ton of information tonight, so you may feel overwhelmed at some point. So the first thing that I gave you all is the original ordinance regarding LAMC 4118, which governs loitering. So this is the loitering law. The last time this ordinance was amended, as you can see, is in October of 1968. A very long time ago, well before my time. This ordinance is unenforceable for several reasons. One is regarding the Jones decision when the city was sued by the ACLU. The most recent reason is because of a federal 9th Circuit Court of Appeals decision stemming from Boise, Idaho. In your packet, I didn't print out the whole 80 pages because I want to save the environment, but I just gave kind of like the brief publication of the summary of the decision from the Martin v. Boise decision. Long story short, a few homeless individuals in the city of Boise sued, claiming a violation. Oh my goodness. Now that I'm in front of people, I'm not going to remember everything I say 100 times a day. It violated their 8th Amendment rights for cruel and unusual punishment to enforce loitering laws if they did not have housing available for them. For a more relative view to how that's comparison to the city of Los Angeles, Boise, to comply, would only need to build about 1,000 more units. It's just a rough estimate, very little, because they have a very little homeless population in comparison to the city of Los Angeles. Also, with context, their loitering laws, if they found you in violation of that, they would arrest you. In the city of Los Angeles, they would not arrest you. They would most likely give you a ticket when this was enforceable, which it's no longer enforceable. This Boise decision I'm bringing to everyone's attention because the county supervisors and the city attorney has filed an amicus brief to the Supreme Court to take up this argument, because at this point we feel that it's too broad, so we cannot enforce any of our laws. So I would urge everyone to become familiar with this Boise, Idaho decision. Contact your county supervisor. Her name is Sheila Kuehl. She was not in support of the amicus brief to the Supreme Court. So I just want to make that clear so you know going in that she did not support it. So I would familiarize yourself with this, but that's basically it. They claimed it violated their 8th Amendment rights. So that is why, very broadly speaking, the city cannot enforce its loitering laws. So, sure.
Could you just clarify, because I'm a little confused
Sure.
about this triple double negatives in this.
Okay.
The Boise decision said that these ordinances are not enforceable.
Correct. Because they are unconstitutional.
Because they're unconstitutional.
Yes.
city and the county have to file with the Supreme Court
Yes.
objecting to that decision.
Correct. They want them to take up the appeal in hopes that they'll either overturn a decision or offer clarification.
But the final twist is our particular county commissioner, Sheila Buell,
Yes.
was against that, but she is in favor of this decision saying these are unenforceable. I wouldn't go as far as saying that, and her opinion is that's not going to solve the issue of homelessness, so we just should let it be the way it is. The county supervisors, if you do not know, there's 5 of them. The vote was 3-2.
Jessica, one more clarification.
Sure.
And again, we've been dealing with it for many years. When you say build, are we saying, what's the difference between building shelters and creating shelter?
So
Does it have to be bricks and mortar? You have to build it
they
from
have
the
to have
ground up?
Yes. So the Jones decision said that the city of LA has to.
Offer.
We don't have any. So
Oh, no, well,
we don't.
yeah, well,
Actually,
you don't,
didn't
you
we
haven't
be-
built any,
Came in
but,
compliance with Jones.
but we have.
Yes, and the mayor decided.
And the mayor decided, so I think it's an important point, is
Yes.
that, so there was a housing requirement that the city had to meet, there was a minimum threshold the city had to meet in order for us to be able to enforce 4118.
Who created that?
We
threshold?
met, it was
Jones
part of our,
decision.
part of the settlement with ACLU.
Correct.
So LA met that requirement, but the mayor, once that was met, and it was when publicly the mayor was asked, now that the city of Los Angeles has met the threshold of our agreement in the lawsuit, the settlement with the ACLU, will you begin to have the police department enforce 4118? And the mayor said no.
Correct.
So basically, we're talking about something in Boise, Idaho, in the Ninth Circuit Court, when our own mayor does not want to find clarification, obviously.
That the city attorney does.
Well,
Yeah.
this is crazy.
It's the reality that we live in.
No, it's the reality that's Los Angeles. So what I'm saying is that we can tomorrow get vacant buildings and bring them up to snuff to house every single homeless person we have in our community. Now, do they choose to go? No, because no one will choose when you're speaking to someone who's influenced by alcohol or drugs. You're speaking to the drug. You're not speaking. No one wants to get help. I wouldn't. So my point is that this whole thing, this whole convoluted cloud, when we could literally make an area that's like a triage for 20 or 30,000 people in the countless vacant buildings we have all around our city and county, and we're still dealing with this. Really? Tons of vacancy.
Yeah, we're getting off subject.
We're getting off subject.
We're getting off subject, Alex.
I do want to refocus this on why we're
Okay.
here with 4118.
Go
so
ahead,
thank
let's
you for
spin.
that.
Keep spinning.
So this is not a spinning, Alex. This is the reality that the city
Yes.
faces. So, with that said, so the first page is the original ordinance. I want to skip to.
Point of order, please.
Oh, of course, in my copy, I don't have the other one. Hold on. Of course. The second page should be the proposed amendments. Yes, but I don't have it in mind. Does everyone see this? The next one is the Homeless and Poverty Committee report. Okay, so the City of Los Angeles has various committees that various council members sit on. Homelessness and Poverty Committee is not a committee that the council member sits on. So I want to make that clear. Now, they took up the revisions to look at this code and revise it based on a session with the city attorney's office, because they knew that they had to revise the ordinance following the recent decision back in September of last year of the Boise, Idaho decision, okay? So this is the first step in the long steps. So this is the proposal that the Homelessness and Poverty Committee came up with. If you look in the back, you can see who voted for it. Mitch O'Farrell, who represents Council District 13, who has a significant amount of homeless people in his district. Mike Bonin, absent, also has a significant amount of homelessness in his district. He represents Venice. David Rue, Council District 4, also a significant amount, who voted yes. That's important because he decided later on to vote no. And Harris Dawson, who I'm not familiar with. So in this draft proposal, they came up with some ideas of how to revise it. This is a draft. So the reason I wanted to have this meeting tonight is kind of give you guys an overview of what the laws are, what we're dealing with as a city, county, and hopefully at some point the state. Get your feedback on what you like and do not like about this draft ordinance. I don't assume and I don't expect everybody to have ideas right now, which is why I gave you guys this. And hopefully everyone signed in so I can send you an email copy of this. But the council member is very eager to hear from the community about this amendment. The city hall took this up about, I feel like a week and a half ago. The majority of people who attend committee meetings at City Hall tend to be very far left advocacy groups. So I just want to make this clear. The council member is a progressive, okay? He's fiscally conservative, socially liberal. We want to make that very clear. However, he feels that we need to be in the center with this kind of ordinance. He feels that right now the only people who are going to be heard are the typical people who show up to all the community meetings, voice their opinion. In this case, it was a lot of the advocacy groups, including an organization called CELA, the ACLU, and you name it. So I obviously will send you guys information about how to go to City Hall, how to register to receive updates for this. So anytime the City Council votes on something, makes a change to this ordinance, or you submit a public comment, you can see it, all of it. And then you'll get emails for any of the agendas so that you can attend if you choose to attend, but unfortunately, they're always during the day usually, which I don't agree with, but that's just the way the system is right now. So, so let me just reiterate, the first page is the original ordinance. I would highlight that the major problem that the Boise, Idaho decision had with this ordinance is Section D, which says, no person shall sit, lie, or sleep in or upon any street, sidewalk, or other public way. It's very broad. It's very broad. It doesn't specify anything. And unfortunately, this law would disproportionately affect people of color. So that is why it was deemed unconstitutional.
How?
Because it doesn't, so in order to enforce a law.
And what are you implying, that people of color would be more affected by this than
A white person?
Yeah.
That's just statistically a fact.
That's
To
why.
what?
It's just statistically a fact, it is. So on the committee, on the committee, Harris Dawson is an African American. He ended up voting yes for this because he had a serious concern with this section, because he argued that a majority of his residents are people of color and they will face more ability to receive citations than the majority of people who are otherwise not persons of color.
Okay, sure, but I don't think
So,
thank you.
so in your packet is just a snippet of, I talk and talk, sorry, sorry. In your packet, the second page is just a printout of what the council file looks like on the website. You will see the title of the ordinance, the date that they filed the ordinance, the last time a change was made.
What page, Jessica?
Page 2.
It's the third page.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
Fourth page.
Fourth page.
My numbering pages and stuff.
It's not,
Power's not balanced.
oh, it's coming back on. Warming up. It's warming up. So on this page, it'll say council file number 19-0602-S1. And it will say date received, last change dated, pending in committee, the expiration date of the proposed, which will eventually hopefully be an amendment ordinance, the mover, who is Mitch O'Farrell of Council District 13, and this is what it looks like. Seconded by Noreen Martinez, who is CD6, Van Nuys. I'm sure some of you, if you've ever been there, they have a significant homeless issue. Our office handles a very small sliver of Van Nuys. So on this site, you can actually scroll down the activity and see whenever somebody submits an impact statement, anytime for anything. So when you submit a public comment, it will literally be filed in here, and then everyone can see it. So I will briefly go over how to do that. Because mine's out of order from everyone else's, there's a page that says Office of the City Clerk Public Comment Form. I'm going to click on a button, and this is the form that will come up, so that if you cannot attend, say, a City Hall meeting from the Homelessness and Poverty Committee to give your voice at that time, you can just submit a comment online. You don't need to go anymore. This is a new thing that they just recently came up with.
And I did it, and it's easy.
Oh, yeah, it's in permanent record, they have no choice. So, I will show you how to do this. The first thing I will show you is, if you see this button, you can click subscribe by email, and you would type in your email address, click subscribe. You'll get an email asking you to confirm that you want to receive the emails, and anytime somebody files something in this council file, you will get an email every single time. So I would recommend doing that if you don't feel like constantly looking to see if there's changes. To submit a public comment, let me know anytime if I'm going fast. I'm a fast talker. To submit the public comment, you would click new, and it will show you the site. I would just, because I'm always somebody who has to double check things, make sure the council file number is the correct number before you submit the comment. And of course it tells you that as well. Your name is optional. You can remain anonymous if you choose to. In my opinion, when it comes to advocacy and trying to get things done for the betterment of the community, I'm not shy. I like to give my name, my email, and it would also be very useful, not everyone has done this, but it would be very useful when you submit your comment to put your address so they know whose constituent you are. Because as far as they're concerned, if you just say, you know, Joe Blow, I don't like this, bye. They're not really, it'll be public record, but it's not really gonna make that much of an effect. If you want your voice to truly be heard, you need to let people know where you are. So I wouldn't say put your phone number, just put your address, and maybe not put your unit number if you live in an apartment or a condo for safety purposes. So this is where you submit the public comment. An example of something, so anyone can submit a public comment, neighborhood councils submit public comments. This is a public comment that the Echo Park Neighborhood Council submitted. This is Council District 4 constituency, David Rue. They submitted a comment basically requesting that they would like to see an amendment of this ordinance, but not as it currently is. So I would say that's probably the majority of the opinion currently, is that they want the amendment to be revised, but they don't like the suggestions currently. And I will tell you what those suggestions are that people don't like. So I'm going to go back to the Homelessness and Poverty Committee report. Should pull that up. Well, I'm sorry?
These are the proposed changes?
Yes, exactly. I'm going to pull this up so people see. Loading. So, let's look at, actually let me pull up my notes from the councilman. Still loading. Oh, you know what? Let me look at one more thing. So this is a copy, and I'm happy to send this around to people because I want to show you an example of an extreme view. This is the public comment that was submitted by the attorneys from the ACLU. So remember, they're the original people who initially sued the city of LA in the beginning, okay? In this, they accuse us of being Trumpian, progressive leaders of being Trumpian, because of any idea that we could ever amend our laws that are from the 1960s. So I just want people to understand the page isn't working.
I'm sorry, what's that term you said?
Trumpian.
What does that mean?
That's literally what they wrote.
That's what they wrote.
That's exactly what they wrote. So I'm going to pass this around. This is actually already on the council file. You can look it up
It's good
yourself.
to talk national politics when our local community is going
So
down the toilet.
I'll, if you guys want to look at it. So I'll just pass it around so you can see some of the stuff. So I would say before you do post the comment, maybe just kind of review some of the previous ones. So you can kind of get an idea of what people are saying or even how to say them. If you would like assistance in how to draft something, whether it's for, against, or in the center, I can help you with that. Before working for the city, I used to do a lot of advocacy work. So this is something, I'm now on the inside, but I used to be on the outside fighting the inside. So I know what to do to help you, right? I feel a lot of times in this position, people are very angry and upset, and I hear them because I live it in my job and in my personal life. And so I want to show people what they can actually do to make a difference other than just getting very angry and frustrated and not doing anything about it. Because you can do something about it. You really can. So that while that comes around, Did it come up? Awesome. Okay. I'm gonna go back. Oh, here we go. So the portions that City Council has issues with currently is they feel that this is also too broad. So let me touch base on section A first. Restricts 10 feet of clearance. ADA, of course, is a federal law, and so right now they're trying to consider how many feet that they want that to extend to, whether the current amount is good enough or if they should extend it even further in terms of feet.
What page, Jessica?
This is the first page of the Homeless and Poverty Committee report.
The proposed changes.
The proposed amendments. Okay, so no person shall obstruct the free passage of pedestrians, which is section C, sorry. No person shall obstruct the free passage of pedestrians in a public right-of-way engaging in the following behavior. C, and then 1, and then I2, and I3. Right now, Mitch O'Farrell, Council District 13, and Council District 4 have a serious problem with this section. I will tell you why. Yes, did Peter get a question?
What's the definition of a reasonable person?
Exactly. Exactly. So, right now it doesn't even say that. It just says, so. How did he say that? Okay. So, right now, that's exactly it. My boss wants us to define what that means. Because right now that the committee is thinking about completely removing it because they feel it's too broad.
Also, if we just define gravely disabled, we'd have a real win here.
Right. So
gravely disabled is defined by court cases.
Right. So in certain instances, we can say reference state law XYZ, which is what the council member has suggested, to reference other laws that are already on the books. So right now they're working on how to define this. So if you have any suggestions on what, I mean, the legal term is literally a reasonable person, and there actually is a legal definition for that. I don't have it with me. But the average person is not going to know what that means, but the courts will. So right now, that is something that they're skeptical about. Then when you move on to C, number 2, intentionally touching or causing physical contact with another person without that person's consent. Intentionally blocking or interfering with the safe or free passage of a pedestrian, including unreasonably causing a pedestrian to take evasive action to avoid physical contact. So basically what that means is, say you're under an overpass, there's a massive encampment, you don't feel safe, you'll go on the other side. But there's certain locations in the district where they're blocking both sides and you can't go anywhere. That's particularly around schools. Yes, sir?
Isn't 2 a battery a crime? It is a battery, that's already a crime.
Correct.
Isn't 3 an assault, which is already a crime?
Correct. So Councilmember has said that what he'll do in his, so Councilmember right now is probably one of the 4 leaders in trying to amend this, because right now some of the council members feel a little unsure of what to do because they feel threatened by some of the community groups. So politically speaking, they need to hear from their constituents. So yes, and the council member that I work for, Krekorian, would recommend that we input those specific statutes so that people can just refer to it. The next one is no person shall, and this is the one that I'm very keen on everyone reviewing. No person shall, this is section D. This starts on the first page and goes to the second. No person shall sit, lie, or sleep upon any street, sidewalk, or other public right-of-way as follows. At any time in a manner that restricts 10 feet of clearance from any utilizable and operational entrance, exit, driveway, or loading dock. At any time in a manner that restricts passage by ADA. At any time within 500 feet of a park, a school, a daycare center, in or upon any tunnel, bridge, or pedestrian subway, that is a route designated by City Council resolution on a school bus route, within 500 feet of a facility opened after January 1st, 2018 to provide housing, shelter, supportive services, safe parking, or storage for homeless persons, bike and other recreational paths, public areas, non-sidewalk, posted with no trespass signs, public areas posted with closing times for safety and maintenance purposes, crowded public sidewalk areas like those exempted in the citywide vending ordinance. As you can see, based on how this is written, they have concerns about this because where are they gonna go? So, well, in this it says from any park. So I want people to focus very much on this section and look at it either as what you don't like, what you do like, and what you do like, maybe suggest the reasons. And when you do submit your opinions or comments, and please definitely include me, you know, after you submit your public comment, just let me know how you feel because I need it. Specify why you think it's necessary. So like you say, I don't want any encampments 500 feet from a school. Why? I have a kid, I take my kid to school every day, X, Y, Z, there's this many people there, they're doing drugs, this, that. Explain why. In either way, we need to know why. Not just, I don't like this, bye. Yes.
So you're saying do both submit the public comment on that website, the city's website, and
Yes.
then CC you or do an email to you?
Correct.
Direct?
Exactly.
Okay.
Because this is a continual conversation. So I will continue, I get updates whenever somebody posts something to this ordinance online, but I also want people, because I get a million emails, I want to hear from you too. Because the council member that I work for, we have meetings now about every 2 weeks about homelessness, and they're usually about 3 to 4 hours long. So he wants to know he wants to know what the community's thinking. What he came back from City Hall the day of when they first took this up. The things that they were called at City Council were insane. He gave suggestions. He wanted to hear from us then, and I gave him a pretty good feedback of what I've already received from the community as to what they would and wouldn't like, which I'll share with you now, but this is just the beginning of this stuff. So, and I think that's why it's a perfect time to have this conversation with you all, and we'll continue this after this meeting. This doesn't have to be the first meeting, definitely won't be.
Jessica,
Sure.
question. What is the monetary reward that I call it the Homeless Rights Advocacy Industrial Complex, gains in suing the city and winning?
Well, it depends. So there's a woman who lives in Santa Monica who is very well known as suing the city of Los Angeles on behalf of homeless people. She's a millionaire.
Multi.
So not always. So what's that?
Carol Silver.
Yes.
Attorney.
Exactly. So sometimes I don't know if there's any restrictions that they put in there that say, okay, you sue LA and then you need to turn that around and give that back to the community. The city of Los Angeles sometimes does that. They did that when they were sued with the sidewalks, and they turn them on and made a fund with that money to fix sidewalks literally over 30 years. Mm-hmm. I do not know. I haven't done a whole lot of research, but that woman is very well known. Yes.
Since you brought Carol up,
yes.
Just a quick comment. When Craig was at the wheel of the committee, by the way, I happen to live with one of your illustrious committee members, and I use that term, HRAIC, Homeless Rights Advocacy Industrial Complex. I think that's exactly what it is. It's a multi-billion-dollar operation in this town. But I have recommended, and I brought some to Craig, and I think I brought this to the committee here, as chairman, that you need to arouse the public on this. They're basically sheep. They don't get Carol Sobel to a meeting and a person from the ACLU, and then publicize the hell out of it. Get 100, 200 people here, get the press here, television, etc., and let's expose what's going on.
Okay, Fred, I just need to jump in here because I do want to, number one, focus us again on 4118. But yes, in February, we have Andrew, head of the homeless committee here too. I want to reach out to him. But in February, we'd like to get the ball rolling on something that answers a little more of things on the ground. So we'll work towards that, and thank you for that.
She makes a ton of money, about $900 an hour, 34% of the take.
Gotcha. Thank you, Fred.
Thank you so much, Fred.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Let's keep going on. Again, I do want to focus on 4118, but did you?
Yes, I want to focus on 4118.
Thank you.
Just a question or a suggestion.
Sure.
With the focus of within 500 feet of a park, 500 feet of the school, 500 feet, those can be put on an overlay on a map.
Yes.
And can we see where they can't sleep, which will then determine where they can. And it will certainly help because the other side is then going to say, look, they can only sleep here, here, and here, and that's not enough. So
correct.
What do they want?
So I'll give you an example of what the city already does. So there's another ordinance called 8502, which regulates vehicle dwelling, so where people can live in vehicles and RVs. The city of Los Angeles, again, settled the case and created an ordinance throughout the city of LA and a map. And the map and I can send that all to you as well. That's another part of the lawsuit that we're facing. On the map, there's red, green, and yellow zones. And you can see it has the street names and everything else. On those zones, you'll be able to see where they can park at no time, red zone, which is primarily in residential areas. I'll get to you in a minute. That's it. That's exactly it. And then green, which means they can be any time. An example would be Ventura Boulevard. They can actually be there anytime. They choose not to because it's metered, right? And then yellow, meaning they can be there during the day.
That's not being enforced either, is it? The hazmat problem, because the yards won't take the RVs when they're towed away.
I can say, Fred, that this is actually being enforced because I've turned in some that actually go with the red line, so I've,
Okay.
yeah.
So yes, that was a problem for a while. So there's a couple things. DOT. What's that?
And that was just renewed.
Correct.
Every 6 months.
And the reason I'm hosting this meeting is because at that meeting, again, all of the very far left people showed up, screamed and yelled, said we were criminalizing homeless people. Council member was very upset because he felt, again, no one shows up to these meetings. They renewed it anyway. It's coming up for renewal in January. I'll let you guys know. That's something else that you can get involved with if you're interested. Yes, Andrew?
Okay, well, I just wanted to point out what you're talking about is strictly related to parking and people living in their cars.
Correct.
What you were asking about is the impact of
Yes,
of this.
specifically to this right here.
Oh.
That map does exist exactly as you requested. The LA Times did it.
Yes.
And so if you go to the, and I don't, it's on the LA Times website. I can't direct you to where it is. I have to Google around to find it. But that map does exist exactly as you requested.
Yes. If everyone signs in over there, I can send you a ton of information to the point where your head will explode. With that great, what's your name again? I worked with you before.
Fred Newman.
Huh?
My name
Yes,
is
sir.
Fred Newman.
Fred, awesome. Thanks for bringing up your question because it made me think of the other motion that I included in your packet, which is a motion that was introduced, again, by the Homelessness and Poverty Committee back in June. This I love because I'm not sure if you're aware, a lot of people like to call me and say, Jessica, why aren't there any homeless people in Beverly Hills? Or Burbank? Well, besides the fact that there's like usually 150,000 people versus 4 million people, because what they do is pick up their homeless people and put them in the city of LA. That's what they do. So what basically this ordinance does, it talks about all the problems that the city of LA is facing, and I highlighted the portion where the council members literally state, this is unfair and unjust, and results in the city of Los Angeles, its neighborhoods, its residents being asked to bear the burden of solving homelessness, while neighborhood jurisdictions reduce or minimize their burden to address the crisis. So they're finally doing something about it. This, I would also recommend, if you're interested to keep a look at this as well. Basically, they have moved to have LASA, the city attorney, and other council report all the neighboring municipalities as to whether or not they're in compliance with the Martin Boise decision, which I can assure you they are not. There is one town, and that's Orange County. They were sued, so now they have to be in compliance. That was introduced by Mike Bonin, Council District 11, who represents Venice, which is a very significant homeless population, and Joe Busciano as well. So thank you so much for bringing it up. I almost forgot this section.
Quick question.
Yes.
So, first, thank you for coming.
No problem.
Glad to be presenting this. I appreciate the time. And I'm all for changes to 4118, but my question comes back to, that I keep coming back to, and ironically could even tie to the issue that was brought up at the very beginning about blowers, is enforcement. We are very fortunate to have a very dedicated police officer, how many years now on the force? 23 years serving us, thank you. But something that I think Sean would not be ashamed to say, is that LAPD does not have enough officers for the city.
No.
The city has tried to put motions forward to get more money to hire more officers, and the voters have said no. Even with the existing budget, we don't have enough officers. So when we're facing issues of real crime that do exist in this city, And like the issue that why aren't there enough cars patrolling this area, we know that North Hollywood Division, most of its resources, I'll be corrected in a minute maybe, the majority of resources are going to, I don't want to call it, say our crime's not real, but more significant gang-related crimes, drug, human trafficking, etc., that's happening in the northern part of this district, or just the other side of the freeway. And so this area historically has been a very much safer area, and so it gets less resources from the North Hollywood Division. How are we suddenly going to ask our underfunded and overworked, and unfortunately sometimes underappreciated police officers to now suddenly begin to enforce this epidemic on our streets? So whether it's 10 feet or 500 feet, how are we going to enforce this?
Thank you for that question. A few things. So first, right now, LAPD really has no enforcement arm. They can't really do anything. They basically have become homeless outreach people, which
we don't like.
Which is not their job, and they're not shy about saying that.
We do want, personally, I don't want to see people homeless, you know, like, and I come from a family of narcotics abuse and stuff like that, but I didn't sign up to be a social worker, and then no other cop did either, so, you know, like, there's a lot of stuff, like, even this, you know, like with the tents up, you have to ask somebody every single day to put their tent down, and then they have to give a reasonable amount of time. What is the reasonable amount of time to come back and enforce that? So it's not easy, like you're saying, for sure. And it's the time given, you know, for everything. So, and then just when we'll be talking about this, enforcing, people want to know, like, the citation will be written. The citation, the person then will later be arrested. The majority of the homeless people have medical issues from being drug addicts or some other ailment, and each one of those persons now has to be taken to the emergency room. Officers don't take someone to the regular doctor's appointment to the emergency room. You're with that person 6 or 7 hours, 2 person. So we have 1 patrol unit for a serious injury. They're gone for 6 or 7 hours. If they're booked and taken to the jail, they will be out the next day. LA County Jail right now, for every misdemeanor, your house, and your sentence is 240 days to less than 1 day. So that person will be out again tomorrow, will be out again tomorrow. Same thing with all the drugs being misdemeanors that the state of California voted for. So I'm just saying, is like you're saying, we don't have any more cops, and it is.
Yes, so it would help the cops in the sense that they could go back to being cops if they had something to enforce. Yes. Second, I'm not sure people know this, but the department that gets the largest funding in the city of LA is LAPD. Every year, the council member supports an increase in their budget, every year. He is the chair of the budget committee, which means he oversees all of the money that's spent in the city of LA. He can approve those requests. When it comes to more police officers, understand that it has its own political mechanism. So the chief of police, Michael Moore, who's a great guy, who's a Valley guy.
Oh, Michael Moore.
Correct. What happens is if the city of LA passes a $1.8 million budget, which is around what it is, that funding will then go to the department, and then he just decides where it goes. So we can't say, I need to hire 10 cops and put them in Studio City. That's not how it works. So what you can do is voice your opinions. When you see an actual crime, actually report it, which is something that my other community, Valley Village, highly orthodox, does not do. I've been pushing them to do it more and more because they look at stats, right? They determine, well, this area has more calls, so that's where we need the police officers to go. If they don't get a call, they don't know that you need help, right? So they don't understand that. So that's why I encourage people. And I know that if you call, like, you know, the non-emergency number, it takes a while. I recommend, I get that. It's worth it though in the end of the day. They need to know. Yes?
The non-emergency number, is that the 311?
No.
100 Ask LAPD.
And you can file online, certainly.
Yes, you can file a report online. You can also go to the station on Burbank Boulevard, and they will also take the report as well. It's up to you how you want to do it. But I definitely recommend if you see an issue, please do that. Also, if you guys have your phone with you.
Sorry, it's just looking for my face.
No worries. If you have your phone with you, I recommend you download this app called iWatch. It's a great app. It connects with law enforcement. If you see any suspicious behaviors, you can send a tip anonymously. So again, it's called iWatch LA. Download that app and you can report it. iWatch LA. So anytime you see a tip, and it tells you, it gives you an explanation of like, what is suspicious? It gives you all of that information, so you don't just randomly say, oh, that person down the street, they look odd, I'm gonna report them. It tells you specifically what to look for. This, yes.
Guys, let me just jump in here quickly on 3 things. First and foremost, the non-ER LAPD number, which when I was living in Ventura Island, I called 4 times in the night. It is 877-275-5273. That's 877-275-5273. They usually have come within 20 minutes. I think only twice did it take longer. That's the first thing. The second thing, to piggyback off of what she said and what Sean was saying earlier, please, if you hear someone who's had something broken into, I know it takes effort to report it, but please report it, because to pick up what she just said, if the police don't know that calls are coming from this area or that this area is hit, they're not going to send people out. Sean's not going to be out there, Sean's not going to know. The only reason why Ventura in Vineland, that we had a lot of cops, and I have you all on film wonderfully there, and we cleaned it up for a while, is because I called every 2 seconds for everything. And that showed me that it works. It works. So please, if somebody gets their car broken into, ask the person to create a report, even if it takes a little bit of time and they don't want to, because that will get help in your area. The third thing, kind of Randy to yours, but again, first and foremost, LAPD is the big dog. Cease. I cannot talk about cease enough. My first night out, we caught someone off the street for a $40,000 bond. They're out for a $40,000 warrant. Just last month, we had an arsonist who was homeless, had nothing to do with cease, but a $2,000 bike was stolen. This person was found by cease within minutes of our operation that night. This person was homeless. This person was sent back to Tennessee after admitting to more crimes in this area. This person is off the street, not just with something like homeless. It's much broader than that. We are looking for murderers, the rapists, the pedophiles, the gangbangers, and all of that stuff that they look for. But we catch people in the act as well. So sometimes when you have helicopters over, it's the CEASE team that turns on the LAPD. There's something that they saw happening. We have radios. So if you want to jump into the community that is CEASE and volunteer for LAPD, we do clean up the street. Like the stat that I had at the beginning, half of the crimes, the 1 crimes, I forget what it was, it's been halved. So please, CEASE is a big thing as well. No, we need more LAPD, of course. But we volunteer on the board. The board itself volunteers. You can volunteer for a homeless committee. You can volunteer for LAPD as well. And we all, I think, can help clean up the community in that way if we don't have the reinforcements that we need, obviously, from LAPD. So it's just another option. Those are the 3 things. Back to you, Jessica.
Thanks, Mike. Yeah, so I actually have gone out. Yes, sir.
How do you get involved in CEASE?
CEASE, I'll tell you right now.
Everybody shoot me an email. My email says that I'm connected to the officer who will help you out. And they have an undercover, they do like plain clothes type stuff, and then one in our little, the plug-in BMWs, they go in there with has this thing that says citizen control. And so there's 2 different ways to help out. It's actually fantastic. We don't have enough people. There's extra eyes out for us. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's made a lot. It is on our social media right now. I'll repost it again tomorrow on our Twitter and our Instagram at Studio City PS. And our Facebook is the same. It's facebook.com/groups/Studio City PS for public safety.
I have a question for Sean.
Yes.
Is CEASE throughout the whole city?
No, LAP North Hollywood Division is the pilot program for that. We had another one similar, kind of similar to the Devonshire area. It was nothing like this one. John Antonoli set up things where now they have plain clothes, and these people drive around their own cars and they're training and stuff. They have always a layoff officers that come respond to stuff they see, and the officers will decide if it was a crime or not. And then basically the white little plug-in BMWs are driven around. And they can either go out there with this lights on or whatever, just to deter stuff from happening, or they call and stuff and constantly. It's just like, it's a force multiplier for us. And we're never going to have enough people, and that just makes us have enough people, and it's been awesome. And that they've actually caught me more than that. They actually, not intentionally, they caught somebody running out of a store. The guy was wanted for murder, out of state. So like, this stuff they see is fantastic. Yeah. It's really, really, really good.
So if I can piggyback onto him, everyone has turned to North Hollywood Division as far as CEASE goes, and people are going, what are you doing? Let me join you. We're up to 50 people right now, I think 52 to be honest with you. And we do have, like Sean said, 2 sections. One is plain clothes, like right here. I would jump out into my car, I would have somebody, Jessica actually came out last time. So it was the same thing, jumped in my car, we have a radio that we can speak to some black and whites that are just kind of following us around. If we see something, or if we see a list, any one of these pictures of these people that we get in the briefing ahead of time, we call it in. We say this person looks shifty for whatever reason. They have stolen property, they don't have a light on, whatever it is. And then they'll run in and check it out, and they'll get an ID card, and that's it at the very least. So that's one aspect. The second aspect is a uniform, yes, in the BMWs where we drive around for quality of life. A tree is blocking a light. We drive up and down Studio City. Excuse me, ma'am, your trunk is open, and that really invites burglars to come in here, and while you're putting groceries inside, so someone's stealing out of your trunk. So please, that's what we do in uniforms as well with the BMWs that keep. So otherwise, it's those 2 halves of it, and hopefully it helps.
This is their website, the Neighborhood Council. They do have the Facebook here and then the Twitter. So I would definitely urge you guys to follow both of those, or one of them, whatever you feel the need to. I myself am on Facebook and Twitter, private though. So I do ask that people email me personally at my work email, but I do occasionally talk to some individuals by Facebook, but always tell people to send me an email because I can't track all of these things during work hours. Thank you so much for that, Mike, and for...
Sorry, are you good?
Almost.
Okay.
Sorry. Another thing, so when Michael Moore was being considered for the position of the head of LAPD, my boss sat down with him and made it, he's very nice, but he made it clear that the valley's overlooked and he doesn't really stand for it anymore. That if it's an issue with money, happy to help you with that, but we need more cops in the valley, period. So our office hosted a town hall in January of this year where Michael Moore came and spoke. It was at Valley College. That information is on our website if you want to look at the video. Unfortunately, it's like 2 hours long. They should have snipped it up so that people can just watch little highlights of it. But he's actually pretty available to a lot of people. He's very vocal. The council member meets with him once a week, every week, to talk about any specific issues that people have. We have a new captain in North Hollywood as well, and he's pretty available to the community. So if that's something you're interested in getting involved with, whether it be CEAS or with the public safety community, let us know, and we can put you in contact with CPAB, which is another great organization that's run, and the captain's usually there, I believe, every month.
Every month, without a doubt, yeah.
The captain is there in person, so you can see him.
And
Yes.
he wants your input.
Did the town hall result in increased police coverage or not?
Yeah, so he had said at the town hall that he would be looking at where all the funding was, basically, and that he would be taking cops off of desk jobs and putting them into the community. So yes, I don't remember the amount. I feel like it's 3 to 5 police officers that were put out in the community. I have to get the exact stats from him.
They funded a recent study we have the maps that we are currently working with are clear back from like the 70s. And so like we have these reporting districts, we call them RDs. And so like right here, I believe this is 1596. And so like this is, Studio City has tons of RDs to it. And so they're trying to redo it like based on, that the haves and needs of the city. So back a long time ago, a lot of you that were born here, have been here forever, this was very quiet, back in the 70s and some of it compared to the other part of the city. It has now gained popularity. There's tons and tons of people out here. There's a lot of growth. And so like that study's being done to go over the call load for the radio calls for service and stuff. So in North Hollywood area, out of all the valley divisions, is the busiest. For some reason, we have the least amount of patrol officers, we have the least amount of detectives. So, and when you go, and I don't, my chief can see this or not, but if you want more cops, you don't talk to me about it. I can tell you that much because I don't have any power to do anything like that. And even my captain is kind of, can only beg for so much, and he does. So you would, you go and have your voice heard through Mr. Krekorian's office, and he speaks directly to the chief, or you yourselves can email the chief. That would be awesome to do that too. Nobody wants more cops than the cops, I can tell you that much. So, and that's the way to go about that. But not asking me, because I don't have any power
to do anything like that.
Thanks so much, Sean. So just to wrap it up, I will give everybody my card. Everybody please sign in so I can follow up with an email with all of you with all of the documents that I gave you this evening. Please review the ordinance. Please send me your thoughts with why you want X, Y, Z. Unfortunately, this is not going to be resolved at the end of this year, so you have time, but I definitely need to hear from all of you. I will be updating the council member whenever I see him about this specific issue. It is the most time-consuming issue that he deals with. He recognizes it is the issue of our time. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I missed some of it because I had to pick up my son. So
Sure.
we had discussed it. I came for your invitation from next door. I'm from Sherman Oaks.
Okay.
And I kept writing about the Woodman gas. My question is, other than that, and I don't know what the chances for that to actually become something
Sure.
else, is there any plan? I mean, is there something that we're looking forward? Is there something in the pipe about the homeless situation here?
So that's kind of a broad question.
Yes, because I want to know if there's
Here.
anything. I've been talking to the deputy in
Sherman Oaks.
Yeah.
Justin Bergman?
Milan.
Oh, she works for Councilmember Root.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So right now what the city is looking at is this ordinance, 4118. It's the ordinance that governs the loitering laws that currently are not enforceable because of two lawsuits the city has faced, one from the ACLU and one from the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals.
Yeah, I know that.
So I'll give you a packet let's chat before we leave. Councilmember Rue is actually on the committee, the Homelessness and Poverty Committee.
Okay.
Councilmember Rue voted in favor of this and then voted against it.
Okay.
So I would definitely recommend that both of you see me after this, and I'll be happy to update you. I'll chat with you over the phone or whatnot. But do understand that my boss no longer represents Sherman Oaks. It's David Rue.
Yes, I know.
Yes.
Other than that, there's nothing.
Okay, I'll speak to that when it's my turn.
Yeah, just so you know, we've got 3 comments that we'll let you get up here, of course.
I think so. Thanks so much for everybody coming out tonight. I greatly appreciate your time. We'll continue to have these meetings. I definitely do not want this to be the first or the last. So if you guys could please sign up with his committee as well. We also have a homelessness committee as well with the City Neighbor Council. Andrew is the chair of that. So we definitely need to hear your thoughts and opinions on this ordinance. Thank you so much.
This is not over yet, so obviously stay. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you very much. We want to get to the comments right now. Do you?
No, I can.
Yeah, we have 3 comments, so you guys will get your time right off the bat. So, Mark, where'd you go, Mark?
Right over here.
Come on, buddy.
I will pass this one, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Andrew, do you want to go last? Let me bring up David. David?
That's me.
There you go, buddy.
Speak loud, stand up, speak loud.
Sure.
Project.
Thank you.
I only had a suggestion. I believe the term is called aggressive architecture around the city under freeways, because as far as I see, the biggest problem is along the riverways and under freeways. Something you can push these people away. I do have a lot of compassion, but as far as I'm concerned, it's people that don't want help and just want to play cards under the freeway and just make it an absolute destroyed mess. Is there a possibility of putting, like on all city benches in Studio City where it's the dividers so you can't sleep on benches? Because in front of the Shell station across the street from Sephora, there's 3 or 4, but there's one guy that calls that his home. It's like, if that was throughout the city where you can't sleep on benches, and the other question is, if you could have like potters under the freeways so there's enough room for, handicap or whatever to pass, but I think it would discourage encampments and tents. Listen, all firefighters and LAPD, they all say it's not Studio City. We all know that. It's an epidemic problem that until we wait for laws to change, it could be years. The LAPD does not have the resources to go. It takes them off the street for 6 hours, like you said, to go enforce somewhere. They know they're going to be in jail for 20 minutes, and they're going to be gone, and they're going to be right back. The Caltrans clears these freeways. Clears up their mess. They're back the very next day. Where they gather, the problem grows. Yeah. So by the riverways and if we can prevent somehow the
gathering under our freeways in Studio City, I don't know, it's just a suggestion of plotters and things like that that prevent encampments from growing. And maybe with C's, I will join C's, I would be happy to, but you know, when I was growing up, there was something called the Guardian Angels. If there was a way to some bold individuals, and I will volunteer to be part of it, to patrol where if people, the drug addicts, see that there's eyes on them, it's not that they're not going to stop doing drugs, but they'll go somewhere else. And I love the city of Los Angeles, but Studio City is my home. So I don't mean to sound like not my backyard, but not my backyard. You know what I mean? So that's what my biggest suggestion is aggressive architecture. Park or bus benches with the 3 dividers and the planters under the freeways. Is there a possibility of that, or?
So, to talk about a couple of things with you right now, which is great. First and foremost, thank you. I think we all love this area, whether it's Sherman Oaks or whether it's Studio City, we all do. So, Krekorian's office with Jessica, we were just out a couple of days ago putting up brand spanking new signs underneath the 101 in Laurel Canyon. It's the only place they are right now. This is Moore Park?
Moore Park and Bellflower.
Moore Park and Bellflower, with more places to come, because I know I was carrying the signs. This entire block is subject to enforcement of California Penal Code 647 and LAMC 5611, which regulate dwelling and storage of property on the public right-of-way. This is something for LAPD. It's a new thing that has popped up. Let's see how it works. CEAS is something different than that. As far as along the LA River and all of that, we've got brand wonderful new gates up, which has cut off a highway that was going from one end of the river to the other at Tahonga and Vineland. We are working and having a meeting to solidify underneath the bridge, which has been a war zone. Thank God nobody really looks underneath that bridge right by the Beverly Garland, which is not only a hazard for all the tourists and the money we have here, but obviously if someone who were to go down there were to get hurt, they would sue the city and probably win. So blocking that off and making sure that people are safe all the way around is something that we're working on currently. As far as the boulders, as far as planters, this should help you with at least some of the stuff underneath the bridge, but we were sent an article that talks about all of those, so we'll look into seeing what we can do in the most compassionate way to...
I believe in compassion. I think it might help if they know they can't camp under there, then go somewhere else. But Jessica's been very helpful, and so has Officer Smith. And when you voice things, they make stuff happen. There was a crack house, or there was a property abandoned that turned into a homeless crack house on the corner of Moore Park and Laurel Grove. And it took months, and with Jessica's help and Officer Smith's help, because when things like that happen, LAPD officers are having to go in there in the middle of the night and extract people, and it's extremely dangerous for, so I thank you both for helping me out with that. But that was just my suggestion. Aggressive architecture is a term, but I think it could help.
It's good.
Thank you.
Let me speak to that. I appreciate that. Thank you. David?
David.
Yeah? Okay. So a couple things. The sign project is something that I came up with following just a lot of understandable desperation from constituents who feel like nothing's ever being done. There actually is. It's just too much to share with people, or it's not something that you'll visually see that quickly, to be honest with you. On this sign, I also want to let people know that at the top there's symbols that say no use sharps, no biohazards, no trash, no explosive materials, and no bulky items. During our first homelessness 4-hour meeting with the council member, we expressed, how about we have trash cans underneath the freeways? I mean, because sometimes, and they do basically use them, they fill them up and then some. So council member is basically gonna probably have to put up a motion that will say we need X amount of trash cans that will cost X amount of money, and then they'll deploy them under the freeways. So if you guys have any suggestions of locations that, I'm sure I may be aware of them, but just in case I'm not, where you would like a trash can, send me an email. I'll add it to our Excel spreadsheet. And as long as it's in my district, I know. I'll try to help you with yours. Funny thing is, so after these signs went up, I got a call from Rue's office asking how I did it. Yeah.
Please write Rue.
But
So-
what is the meaning of this sign? And
So,
do they
yeah.
obey them? I don't.
Yeah, so, you know, not everybody's a law-abiding citizen, right? But a majority of people will follow rules. And a lot of these homeless people do. They actually do know the laws, and they do stay within the line. I'll give you an example. There's a woman named Agnes who lives in Moore Park in Studio City. She's lived there for a long time. She has some mental health issues, but she follows the rules all the time. She was housed temporarily, and she left. Once you become what they term chronically homeless, it's hard to get through to people. Because as we're humans, we adapt to our environment, right? So that's basically an example of, yes, they do know the laws, and yes, they will, majority of the time, adhere to them. So these so far are under our major homeless encampments on our freeways. So they're throughout our district. More will be going up in time. But for right now, they were all installed on Friday. So Laurel Canyon in the 101, and Moore Park and Bellflower, not far from Tahunga. Because I got some complaints from people who were walking home from Tahunga Village, young women, and it's near school, and so the signs went up. To the bus benches.
So how do they get to all the freeway and that?
Actually, I already have an Excel spreadsheet of all of that. Here's what happened. So for us to do certain things, like signs, DOT takes 1 to 3 years to install signs. This is my life. So yeah, 1 to 3 years. So I was like, cool, I don't have 1 to 3 years. I want to do this for the council member like ASAP. So I found a DOT-approved third-party contractor, called in for the cost associated to it, let him know that it needed to be under a certain amount to avoid being on a motion, and then we paid them, and they fabricated the signs, and they installed the signs. But I had the whole time I spoke with the city attorney, one of our councils, and she reviewed the language, made adjustments, so everything is approved. So in other words, if you see anytime you see a no loitering sign, it's not enforceable. It's not enforceable. So Council District 4, Rue, has some unenforceable signs, which he could be subject to lawsuits for. Flamenfeld District is the same thing. So they will eventually start calling us because our signs are enforceable.
Should we phone him and push him on?
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
So the district director of CD4 is Nikki Azari. I used to work with her. I actually started my career at the city council with Dave Rue's office when I was first here.
Benches.
What's that? Thank you. Benches. I thought that we had all of those. So if we don't, please let me know where. I will send the locations to our transportation director, Doug Mensman, and he'll get that fixed.
Shell station across from Sephora.
That I wrote down. If there's any other locations, let me know.
Also,
And if you see a bus stop, if you see if you see a bench where there's not a sign, let me know. I'll have it removed. I did that already by the kind of hideous looking motel across the street from the Metro parking lot where people go to take the bus to the bowl.
Oh, yeah.
So I can have it removed if there's no stop associated with the bench. I feel like I missed something else. Is
Yeah,
that?
that was it. If I can say something too, like, you know, I think the city talks about something, we have city laws and stuff, but there's different laws LAPD, you know, we will enforce. Of course, majority laws LAPD enforces, there's California Penal Code sections, and then California Vehicle Code sections, and then there's the city laws. So just you know, like if it becomes the California Penal Code, the person is held higher, you know, which makes it more enforceable. So I'm just saying, maybe these meetings need to have your state people in there too, you know, I mean, it's up to you. As LAPD, I'm not gonna tell you guys what to vote or anything like that. Whatever you guys do, like the leaf blower stuff, they're just not enough cops to enforce leaf blowers, I'll be honest with you. And, you know, the city maybe should have something called code enforcement, go around and code enforce that stuff. But, you need to have the right representatives in here too. Like I can tell you from going to court, I very rarely go to court on any LA Municipal Code section because usually that person gets time served and stuff. But the Penal Code section, they go way more on the rap sheet, and then later on they're being held for like, hey, you've had 10 of these, or you have this and this. So just throwing it out there. So you guys complain, you know, or talk to the right people.
Thank you. And at last month's meeting, I just want to mention, Piscatelli had some individuals from the gang unit. They talked about Prop 47, which is a state voter-approved initiative that decriminalize a lot of the drug use. And so that's why you see it. That was approved by the voters. The city gets a lot of it. I get tons of emails where people just
scream at me in capitals, why are all these drug use? Get the city needs to take care of it. It's not our doing. So I'd highly recommend you become familiar with your state assembly member and your state senator. Let them know how you feel about that ordinance. Maybe they'll revise it, maybe they'll take up a new one, but I would definitely take this, as I'm showing you how to make a public comment, but you can do it to any of your elected officials for any issue.
With that, I would like to move to, we have limited time left here with the space. Thank you, Julia. Andrew. Andrew is our Homeless Committee Chair, just so you know, for the Studio City Neighborhood Council. And here's our last comments.
All right, I'm gonna talk to you guys. You guys are, you can listen to me.
Preaching to the choir.
I mean, you can,
All right,
you want to stay
there's a
back here?
microphone.
You want to stay here?
My name is Andrew Silver. I am the chair of the Studio City Neighborhood Council Homelessness Committee. I'm also on the board. I'm also on the board of a local nonprofit homeless service organization called No Ho Home Alliance. I'm also on the steering committee of LA Family Housing. LA Family Housing is the SPA 2 lead. And I'm getting blank stares about SPA 2. So we're going to talk a little bit about the plan. There is a plan. There is an organization that is a joint powers organization for the county and the city called LASA. LASA gets all the money from the state and the city and the bond measures, and they allocate those funds for dealing with homeless issues. They've divided the county into 8 service provider organizations, which is a SPA. We are SPA 2. In each of those regions, they contract with a service provider. In our case, that's LA Family Housing. LA Family Housing has been operating out of North Hollywood for 35 years, building homeless housing and low-income affordable housing. They operate 27 properties housing homeless and low-income people, or homeless and affordable housing. So when Prop H passed, which is the tax that funds services, they expanded their services to outreach and homeless prevention and dealing with the homeless issue and they're responsible for the entire San Fernando Valley. So as chair of the Studio City Homelessness Committee, I took it upon myself to research what is best practices in dealing with homeless issues. I apply my business background, and I want to know what is cost effective and what works. So I started reading studies. And I also reached out to connections I have at USC. USC has a initiative to end homelessness. And 7 of their schools are involved. The medical school is involved, the architecture school, they have a social work school that are all involved in researching homelessness issues and how best to address them. And there's not as many studies out there about dealing with homelessness as you might think. A recent UCLA study started with how little is known about the homelessness population, and it ended the study with comments about how we're just starting to learn more about this whole issue. So that's a broad overview of what the plan. Somebody asked about. So Jessica. Okay. So Jessica painted some of the people that work on homelessness issues as radicals. I'm not one of those people, Jessica. I know people at SELA, and I don't. I don't go to their meetings. I do know those people.
We've got to focus this again, please. We've got to focus this again, please. We don't have much time. We're going to be picked up soon.
So okay, so they're really okay.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
3.5 minutes.
So when the motion came up to revise Municipal Code 4118, I went to the experts that I've developed relationships with. I talked to the chief operating officer at LA Family Housing. I talked to their head of engagement, which manages their outreach teams.
I talked to the CEO of the People Concern, which manages SPA 5. I talked to management at SPA 4. So I talked to experts that manage the vast majority of homeless people in the city of Los Angeles. Every single one of them said that this is a bad idea. And I also talked to the director of NoHo Home Alliance. These are people that deal with the homeless every day.
I'm sorry.
Every single one of them said it's a bad idea.
Why is it a bad idea?
It's a bad idea because it goes against all the studies, everything that is known about homelessness. Number one, it is a bad idea because it criminalizes homelessness.
What is this? 1480, whatever.
Okay, so 4118 is a law that's on the books. The court said is unenforceable. The council motion that we're talking about is a motion to revise 4118 to be in compliance with the Boise decision. So it would criminalize homelessness and put the burden on Officer Smith to write citations for the homeless people. Now, you mentioned that is there a map? And so the LA Times has written 2 editorials opposing the motion to revise 4118. Not one, but 2. And one of the reasons is the map that they published. If you look at the map, the question is, where do they go? So Officer Smith will encounter them too close to a park. And first of all, how are you going to measure what the distances are? So there's issues with enforcement. So that's an issue. So Officer Smith writes them a citation and then says you have to go somewhere. Where are they going to go? If you look at that map, they're going to end up in our neighborhoods. There's nowhere else for these people to go. And you have to think about the consequences. Okay, so here's my big thing about why I oppose criminalization of the homeless. It costs us tax money. It is the most expensive and least effective way of dealing with the homeless crisis that we all have. And I don't want my tax dollars wasted on criminalizing the homeless.
On $700,000 units.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. You're talking about Proposition Triple H. That's a separate issue, and we're not going to get into that. But Economic Roundtable, Rand Corporation, UCLA, all show that criminalizing the homeless is the most expensive, least effective methodology for dealing with these issues. And I don't want my tax dollars wasted on these issues. Okay, so doing nothing is not an option. There is a plan.
Point of order. I'm sorry, this is supposed to be a comment right now, and I know we're going to get into back to back, and I know you want to talk with these people like this, and you can. All right, but this is the Public Safety Committee right here, right now. I understand, Andrew. I understand. All right. So this is 4118. This is what this is really about. So we have different opinions, and we brought this here to you so everyone can talk about 4118. Obviously, there are different opinions, and we have the head of the Homeless Committee who's doing a wonderful job with it, who has another idea as well. And it's great.
There isn't an idea. There is a specific plan. LA Sanitation Care Teams. LA Sanitation Care Team partners with outreach workers. They provide the receptacles. Paul Krekorian championed this. He brought it to the valley. It improves efficiency of the care teams. It addresses the homeless where they're at. It takes it out of the hands of Officer Smith, who doesn't want to do it. He said right here he doesn't want to deal with the homeless people. It puts it in the hands of LA Sanitation and social workers that are experts in doing this and have the tools and resources to do it. There is
all right, I cannot get that. Please, let me interrupt here. Please, thank you very much. I don't want to get it back and forth. I'm going to wrap this up. Andrew, thank you for your comments. And please, if you guys want to talk more, please do it offline. Randy, did you want to say something?
Just 30 seconds, super quick. I think what's really, so this is the Public Safety Committee that is a part of your greater neighborhood council. A lot of people don't even know it exists. I'm so glad you're here. If you're in neighborhood, if you're in Studio City, we'd love to see you at the neighborhood council because your voices matter. Just to put a tip on the point, the neighborhood council recently, we just passed a motion, Alex Zbiggy, who left, and myself voted against it, but we passed a motion actually opposing any changes to 4118 because the homeless committee presented a motion. It was well argued, well supported by the people that they brought out, and a lot of your voices were absent. So it matters if you show up, because we do believe there's a change. And lastly, I'll simply say, I don't believe that it's an either or of just criminalizing or just making it a law. But I know for most stakeholders, we need to also make changes in our laws. It's not just, we have to make changes.
I agreed. With that, thank you everyone for coming. Please raise your voices on everything that we've talked about tonight, and thank you very much.